Good morning, my silky friends. What am I doing? Okay, there we go. It's too early and too cold. How are y'all doing this morning? I hope you are feeling wonderful. I hope you are recovering from Thanksgiving. And tell me, are y'all done Christmas shopping? How far into it? I've got a good majority of mine done. I'm still gonna have to go out, and I realized I'm gonna have to go out just a few days before Christmas when I get my last paycheck for the month. Um, I'm gonna have to be out there. There's a couple of things that I have to get. Oh my gosh! So I'm gonna be out there with the crazy people. Whoop whoop. Um, Anyway, I hope y'all are enjoying it. Today, we are going to talk about Delphi. And for those who are sick of Delphi, we're going to talk about some other crimes against humanity, some things that I found perusing the internet. Um, and oh my gosh, y'all. If you, okay, Delphi is always, we're probably going to save Delphi to later on in this broadcast. So I want to start with some other things. I don't see any comments, y'all. Somebody comment. Say hello. I can see that you're here. I can tell that people are watching, but I see no comments. Somebody say good morning. It's cold. Is it cold where you are? Are your fingers too cold to type? I don't know. Mine almost are. It is here in Alabama. This is like February weather. The hello, fur baby daddy. Yes, please hit the like button. That helps a whole lot. Um, Good morning. Good morning. Um, Here in Alabama, it's normally like in the evenings in February, like maybe late January and through February, we have lows at night that drop into the 20s and 30s, um, sometimes the teens, and that is beyond bearable. Um, but this is normally February is the month that I hate the most out of the whole year. And it's because it gets so cold here. And there's no surviving like emotionally for us when it gets that cold. But it has been, y'all, it has been in the 20s and 30s for the last 4 or 5 days, maybe more. And it's going to continue pretty much until mid December. Like, I don't know. I don't know what this is, but Mother Nature, you need to stop. You need to take, like, I don't know, take a Lexapro or some Prozac or something. You need to settle down. It's not winter yet. And this is just insane. Good morning, Fragaria. How are you? Good to see you. So yeah, it's insanity to me, and it's really cold, and I hate it. I hate it. Is it cold where y'all are? Is it just me? Are y'all in the deep freeze section? I watch Ryan Hall all the time, have for a long time, and he's saying like you're not going to get out of this until mid December. So it's like, oh, what? What is this nonsense? Good morning, Deputy Dog. Same here in New York City. You're in New York City. I think I said this to you before. I love New York. I love New York. I went in December in 2019, right before, the big everything you couldn't go out on the streets in New York. Y'all know I have to be careful what I say. But I went the December before all that happened, and I mean it's Manhattan, and at Christmas is just a wonderful place to be. And but it was cold. I will say this, but I expected it when I went to New York City. It was rainy. It was cold. It was it, it really wasn't snowy, maybe some flurries, but it was just bitter cold. And but I knew that going up there, so Fregaria says it's going to be bad here until May. Oh my god. I can't. I can't even with that. Usually by March, February's the worst month. Sometimes we get some snows in March, but they don't last long. And except for the one blizzard that we had early March, and people still refer to it as the blizzard of 1993, and it was terrible. People were, what is this? Uh-oh. That might be important. I don't know. I'm going to leave it alone, though. Yeah, so anyway, I'm done griping about the weather. But I hope y'all are ready for Christmas. I'm kind of excited this year. We have some new people in the around the family. Have some new stuff going on. So I'm excited. I'm excited for my kids. Emmy Sue, hello from freezing cold Indiana. Hey, it's freezing cold Alabama here. The wind chill. Yesterday, I was horrified when I got my little weather app said the wind chills are in the 20s. This morning, it says the wind chills are in the teens, and I did just take the dog out. So I was like, oh my God, what is this? What is this nonsense? Let's see. Linda Kay, good morning. Good morning, Silky. It's Sam and the birds are in full chorus. I used to have birds. I know. My daughter wants a bird. So I was telling her, well, you better get used to the screeching in the morning because they will wake you up. All right. I'm going to hop on over to X because I saw some, have y'all heard about this case? I have not. I don't know. I guess I've just been under a rock or something. I'm not going to see y'all for just a second because I want to put my glasses on because if I do, I look like some kind of bug and the glare is it's weird. All right, let me go back up. I found this. Let's see here. Okay, I found this post by Michael Harriet. And this is in Kansas City, Kansas. And it says for 5 decades, police officer Roger Golubsky, I think that's it, essayed black women and forced to give false testimony that he used to send the black men to prison while he ran a moving of humans ring and a substances cartel in Kansas City. I'm like, what? Okay, what's this about? Because this guy right here says he has been fighting for years and years. Well, that always gets my attention, right? So, and this is sad on many levels, but this is the federal trial against Golubsky was supposed to begin today. He didn't show up. According to sources, Golubsky ended his own life. Wow. So I guess this is him. I'm just learning about this. Have y'all heard this? They have been, 5 decades? Oh my God. And, to me, when somebody does this, it's sad for the family or, whatever. But it leaves so much stuff unresolved. It's like you really don't get closure, do you, when somebody unalives themselves and you never really feel like you have justice. I mean, that's the way I see it. Anyway, so as I was looking into this, this is what they were talking about. The Kansas City, Kansas officers who used Golubsky's girls, oh my God, to imprison black men like Lamont McIntyre and watched Golubsky essay a woman at the police station. At the police station. Can y'all believe this crap? And, so people are like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist when we're talking Delphi and we're talking about, police corruption and stuff like that. And I'm like, Lord God, at the police station. Now, if that happened in Carroll County, those, tapes would have disappeared. I'm just saying. Um, but listen to this, because I had no idea about this case. During the ensuing essay, a CKCPD officer opened Golubski's office door, saw what was happening, and left without saying anything. I mean, could this be Carroll County? Yeah, it sure could. And this is the federal lawsuit against Golubski. This is what it says. Although Golubski assaulted Rose in a station full of police officers, nobody intervened. After he assaulted her, he harassed her for weeks, calling her 2 or 3 times a day. He said he wanted a long-term relationship and promised to pay her for her favors. If this don't sound like, some craziness that could go on in Indiana, when confronted with the allegations, Golubski invoked his Fifth Amendment rights. The case remains pending and is slated for trial. Well, not now, because apparently Golubski is not ever going to show up. Following that night, Rose alleges Golubski harassed her until she had to find a new place to live and change her phone number. She thought by moving that she had permanently escaped him, but she was wrong. Several years later, he orchestrated the wrongful conviction of her son, Lamont. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I was reading this and I'm like, this is horrendous. Delphi is horrendous. Flora is horrendous. And we'll probably be talking about Flora later on this week. So Michael Harriet is saying, what happens to Tara Moorhead? Now, she's the DA who teamed up with Golubski. Again, if this didn't sound like some Indiana crap, I don't know what does. After serving as DA, she became a federal prosecutor in the Justice Department. Wow. Wow, look at that. National media wasn't even on this story. This is according to Michael Harriet, but I just looked where they told me to look. Let me see if I can get it. The only reason I thought about this was that when I woke up this morning, one of them texted me this. Look what we did. No one else, just us. So I don't know. Let me see if you can see that. Yeah, you can still see it on there. This is the prosecutor who framed an innocent man because his mother would not participate in the cavorting with Golubski, a police officer. Can you believe this? And then here is a whole nother article. Let me drop this link, okay? What am I doing? What am I doing? Anyway, this link, I know it's probably not right on there. But this is the whole story of the injustice and this woman. Let me see what you're saying. Hold on just a second. Okay, you're just still seeing this. All right. Let me read to you a little bit about this, okay? Now, this police officer, again, this goes back decades, y'all. Decades. When it says, it's talking about the story of Lamont McIntyre, who spent 23 years in prison when he was falsely accused, again, because his mother would not comply. I can't read all the details of this, so I will put a link down here. But we're talking about 3 decades ago when he was forcing this lady to have relations with him. And then when she moved away, he framed her son My God, can you believe this? Can you believe this mess? All right, let me go back to where I can drop this in the link. All right, let's see if that's going to take. My internet is very slow, y'all. I have no idea. Carol says snowed in a little in central North Carolina. Yeah, we're going to talk about North Carolina too. That is one on my list. That is really my list, my top on the list of crimes against humanity. Good morning, Samantha. How are you? Good to see you. Um, Deputy Dog says, I wonder how many victims there are. Yeah, exactly. Because it's not just her. And, they refer to these people as Golubsky's girls. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the horror of living in Kansas City and being moved around, used like this by the police? And it wasn't just this one woman. I guess that's the one he wanted to have the relationship with. And this goes on for decades. And then I've never heard, and it says in there, like, Michael Harriot is saying, I didn't know either. Like this, because mainstream media wasn't covering this case. Of course they weren't. Of course they weren't. I'm like, my God. So this guy, 23 years, wrongfully accused. And you look at stuff like Flora and Delphi and Richard Allen, and you're like, you know what? You know what? This is how this happens, by everybody covering for their brothers. What? Oh, okay. The magnetic poles flipped on the sun? Did they? We're in solar maximum, not good for technology. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They're talking about a pole flip for the Earth, that it's overdue. I've heard that. A lot of stuff is overdue. If the poles flip, y'all, my understanding is our technology is absolutely worthless. And so, I mean, if there's a day that we wake up and I can't talk to you, let me just tell you this right now: how much I love and appreciate you all, how much you give back to me just by being here, just by talking, just by hanging out, just by the questions that we all have, whether it's Delphi or something else. Appreciate y'all so much. I want you to know that, in case we ever can't talk again, I will always think about y'all. So I don't know. I know it's scary, right? Our whole world would change. Would be like back in the pioneer days, which, wouldn't be that bad. I mean, it would, but it wouldn't in a lot of ways, All right. So, have you ever heard of this case? I had not. I'm fixing to. Okay. So, I put that link down there if you want to read about the most evil white woman in America. All right. Let's see. Let me go back. What happens to the woman who testified under oath that Golubsky came to her house once a week or once every 2 weeks to essay her after putting both? Oh, I didn't know that. Putting both of her sons in prison. My God. I hate that this didn't come to trial. I hate that he wasn't publicly shamed by a trial. And this is a Jane Doe. I don't know if this ends up being her talking about him looking at her 14-year-old daughter. Look, this right here. This right here. I can't even with that, y'all. So, this is the guy, Michael Harriot. If you want to follow him, anyway, he has a lot of good. He has a lot of good information. Now I'm going to go back to mine because we're going to talk about North Carolina. Hold on, let me get back. Well, I'm just going to show you this. Okay. Talking about North Carolina makes me so angry. Okay, this is according to Matt Van Swall. Swall? FEMA seems to be very confused why the people of Western North Carolina are choosing not to use the hotel vouchers they are handing out. Okay, so this is going to make perfect sense. Also, I'm going to tell you something else that was on a news show that just horrified me. Okay, so we got this picture. Let me explain. You are living in Swannanoa, North Carolina, where the river rises 22 feet and sweeps away your home and 2 vehicles. You have a family of 4. Okay, so I guess they're living in these tents outside of this house. You have a family of 4 depending on you to make ends meet, and work starts back in a few days. Let me see if you can see this. Yeah. FEMA hands you a hotel voucher an hour's drive from where your now destroyed home, and you tell FEMA, "Look, I don't have a car. I can't live in a hotel 40 miles away and work from work and the home I need to start fixing." Of course, FEMA says, "Okay, well, your temporary home is 3 months away, like a trailer, I guess. So you're gonna have to, 3 months. So go live in the hotel until then." Well, how are you going to get to work? Okay, I understand you don't have a vehicle anymore. Are you going to give me a horse, FEMA? What about sending the mule train through here every day, morning and night? What about that? Come on. And you say, if I go live in that hotel, I'll lose my job. I won't be able to repair my home, and everything we've worked so hard for will be gone. So, and FEMA's still saying, well, I don't understand why you won't go live in a hotel. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? You decide it's actually less risky to live in a makeshift tent outside of your home and pray a volunteer will deliver you an RV than go live in a hotel an hour away and lose everything. Yes, because if you can't work, you can't pay your mortgage for a house that is now a lot destroyed. But hey, it's your land. It's everything. It's everything. So what choice do you have? Yeah, you could go live in a warm motel, but how are you going to work? I mean, the bank's going to get it. You'll default on the mortgage because they're not giving out money to, pay your bills. And this is what FEMA cannot seem to understand. People are generally very logical. They don't want to sleep in tents. Government policies tend to be broadly applied to all situations, and hotel vouchers are just not going to cut it for a lot of people. Yeah. So can you imagine? And it's so cold and so snowy. Let me go back to what y'all are saying. And then I want to tell you something else that I found this morning. So I was reading some more news. And they're talking about how people are kind of building the roads back the best way they know how. Okay, we don't have all the equipment, all the engineers. Like they're just making makeshift roads that they can pass on, so they can get in and out, get supplies, whatever, get back home. And now FEMA's saying, okay, you've got to tear this down. This is not an approved road. Well, no duh. No duh. But guess what? I can't live out here with no supplies and no supply route, no way to get hey, at least we've got it passable. But now they're telling them, oh no, you got to tear this down. You can't do this. So what are people supposed to do? And I don't see, the only coverage I see of this disaster is on X and on TikTok. And then you have compilations. There are a few YouTube channels that are talking about this and going up there. But seriously, I mean, do y'all realize how many, and we're talking thousands of people, American people, who are living in the snow in tents in western North Carolina and some other places because they literally have no other choice, and the government is giving them crazy options that they can't possibly take. Like, we can't take you up on this hotel thing. And then I read in one place where an Amish community had built this, like, the Amish are very good at putting buildings up, you know. And so they had put up kind of like a hotel like thing to house some of the people in their area. And FEMA said, no, you can't stay there. It's insanity. It's like, why? Why are we not reporting this? Why is this not on mainstream media? And for God's sakes, why is the government not stepping in with the National Guard and everything, bringing supplies, fixing roads, like heaters, whatever in the heck these people need? These are our people. This is American citizens. But we know that they've offered them $2,500 for their land, house, whatever. Here you go. Here's $2,500 for you to just say, bye. For everything that you've built, your whole house, your whole life. And then, you know what? It's still going to ruin your credit because you had to default. Insurance isn't paying for this. And you actually have nothing. And what can you do with $2,500? Not much. Not much at all. Let me see what you're saying here. Yeah, you're right, Samantha. Sounds like that famous 5 acres and a mule. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It is insanity. And why, I'm asking this question too. Why are more people not protesting and saying, hey, this is not okay? It's not okay for us to ignore people freezing to death in North Carolina with this snow and more snow. It's a much colder fall. Like, do y'all understand that winter doesn't start until somewhere, the winter solstice is somewhere around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of December. Like, it's not even winter season yet. We're still in fall. And they are freezing snow. Insanity. The worst possible outcome. Maybe not. The worst possible would be more rain, I guess. But, yeah, I don't understand why people are not standing up and shouting from the rooftops. What are we doing? What, federal government, what are you doing for these people? It's like the only coverage you get are people either out there, and God knows, I wish I could go. I wish I could go and just like take a couple of weeks off and I just can't. I can't, or I will lose everything. I don't have that leeway, especially since I changed jobs, but I still wouldn't have that kind of time off. You know, I'm so disturbed, and maybe because I used to live in North Carolina. Used to travel through South Carolina a lot. And, it's like, I don't understand how we can ignore a major section of the country where people are there's so many bodies out there that they're not telling you about. They don't even know. Do y'all understand? They don't even know the count. They're saying like, oh, well, it's this many people that perished. No, it's not. No, it's not. There is so much rubble and so much stuff that went floating down, the rivers that popped up when the dams broke. Y'all understand, right? That when when Helene went through, there were, and I don't really understand this. Okay, I don't understand how so many dams burst. And maybe somebody can explain that to me. But you had dams bursting right and left. And I'm like, we have hurricanes all the time. why are the dams all of a sudden bursting? I mean, I understand that you have a lot of extra rain and it's okay, but you had all this stuff happening because I was watching this live on TikTok as it was happening. I was actually driving and I had something on. I don't know why I was looking at TikTok, why I was listening to it, but I found this thing and I'm driving down the road and I'm like, I'm looking here and I'm looking over there and I'm like, is this for real? Like this guy is saying the water's rising and the dam's about to break. And I can't even remember which one it was because there was more than one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to, and he kept saying this is going to be like a total obliteration of, this certain town. And I'm freaking out with him. And then it's just like more and more. So you have total devastation in areas. And I like, it took FEMA way too long to respond to Katrina. Okay. Way too long. But Katrina was at least in the national news for a long time. If you remember, I remember like, just my guts, just, my heart breaking and that horrible feeling in your gut of what these people must be going through down in New Orleans. But at least when FEMA got off their government bottoms and started doing stuff, at least you had all these trailers and you had stuff pop up. But it doesn't seem to be that way. Most of the relief that these people are getting are not from FEMA, y'all. It's from people who are donating, like you and me, donating to these. And you have to be careful because there's a lot of scams out there. But, donating to all these agencies who are actually going out on ATVs and going into these areas where people live back up in the mountains. I can imagine. And so they've said they don't have nearly enough cadaver dogs to go out there and sniff. There's like, I heard this one horrible story of this guy, and he walks out in his yard after the storm, and he sees only half of a body in his backyard. Like he doesn't know. He doesn't know who it was, where the other half went. And I mean, he was having a really hard time dealing, And people who are in this area keep saying, like, look, y'all, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people missing, thousands. I'm talking about in some areas, and they're like, the body count we don't even know. We don't even know. And we can't find them and bury them because we don't have it's still, so the ground is so torn up. I mean, some people will never be found. And I don't understand. I don't understand how we live in a country that doesn't seem to care what's going on in Western North Carolina. Like, I can't fathom this. I really can't. I've tried to think. What are they thinking? What are they, what are they planning? Like I'm trying to process, and it makes no sense except one thing, that they don't want to help the people in North Carolina for other reasons. Is it the lithium? Is it the quartz? Is that true? Buying up the land really cheap, forcing people out so you can get your hands on the stuff that's in the earth. Yeah. All right, let me catch up with y'all. Deputy Dog says, I've been given to Samaritan's Purse. Yeah. That is the best thing to do, is to go with an agency that you absolutely know. And look into some of these places. Like, I was horrified a few years ago when I was looking at a report that listed all of the big agencies that you would think, like the Red Cross, and how much money they receive versus how much money they actually give out, and the exorbitant salaries of the CEO and stuff. I'm like, hey, The Red Cross, you shouldn't be like, look, you deserve to have a decent salary, but not that much. Like, this is an organization that when people give, I am not giving to the CEO. I want to help people. And when something like 10% of what you come in, what you get in actually goes out, I'm like, I'm not giving to you no more. No. Because you need to cut the fat in your budget. And you know, like, look, this is ridiculous. It's horrifying if you look into it. And I mean, I'm talking about most of the big ones. Yeah, see what that ratio is to money in and money out. Um, let's see. Let me see what y'all are saying. When people live paycheck to paycheck and there's no guarantee to find food items at the grocery stores, everyone is so busy trying to go to work every minute they can grab. Yeah. Yeah. True. That's where we've been. I hope that gets better. I just do. I hope it gets better. Um Sorry, I'm behind on chat. Am I passenger 33? What areas were the mass destruction in? Is it similar to Katrina? It is much worse than Katrina. Swannanoa is one, and then like there's so many towns. Honestly, it's big chunks. Like there, what is it? Chimney Rock is not even there. Like that whole town, city, however big it was, gone, just gone. And then you've got in North Carolina, you'll have like kind of like in Alabama, you have like one, when I say major, I'm not talking about big city, but we call it a city. They're small cities. Have one thing, and then you go long time on a rural road, and you come to another little place, and there's little houses and little businesses sprinkled in between here and there between the farms, and that's kind of the way it is up there. And then you have a lot of the places in North Carolina have been tourist attractions, kind of, as you're driving through. It's not like there's big destinations all through there, but it's like, people want to go for this, in the summer or in the fall, whatever, drive through the Carolinas. So you will have places like that. But these people live there all year round. And, there are so many. It's not like there's just one or two places. It is all over Western North Carolina. And there are tons of little cities and towns that were wiped out when these dams broke. But they're not really telling you about the dams breaking, are they? No. No, they're not. Like I said, I watched the guy live, and he's like, my sister or somebody, one of his relatives, lived in one of the towns that was right there by the dam, and I can't remember the name of it now, but he's like, I'm trying to reach them. I'm like, I can't get through. I don't know what's going to happen. They're saying the dam's about to break, and if it does, this whole community, is going to be wiped out, and it was. It absolutely was. True, Samantha. It has become very clear that our government is beyond broken. We, the people, have lost our voices. Linda Kay says Katrina was in international news. Well, I honestly don't know, but I know it was all over the news here for a long time. But yet, we're just, it was kind of just like a blip, a day or two. Oh yeah, there's like devastation in North Carolina. But then what happened? It was insanity. Yeah, I can't imagine these people. Robin says a lot of YouTube channels are pitching in to take supplies, heaters, etc. Yeah, like look, if you find, and I'm just, me skeptical because of everything I've seen. I don't believe anybody unless I'm taking it myself. I know the church that I attend, and also where I used to work at the sheriff's department, each one of them got tractor trailer loads of stuff. And at like one was within the first probably 2 weeks that they got supplies. Then the other agency was a couple weeks after that to continue the supplies. But I mean, I know these people, so I trust them. But do I trust anybody? No. But there are some great. Just look around. There are some great groups. It seems like that are doing some wonderful things. I couldn't fit a whole lot in my little itty bitty car, but I wish that I could just go and help. And I don't mean just for a day, because it would probably take me about, I don't know, probably about, how far was it when I used to go from Charlotte? I can't even remember. I'm thinking it would take me at least 7 or 8 hours to get to those areas. I don't really know. And I mean, that's a whole day. So I can't take off. Samantha, we need to change our birth certificates for Ukraine passports. Yeah, get a lot of aid that way, right? Okay, Robin says Appalachia's Homestead and Ryan finds the truth are two I trust. They are boots on the ground helping. I saw another one that this guy really just went. I don't know. I can't remember the names, y'all. But there were a couple of guys with a dog or two, and it was like two couples, and then they just started gathering people. People would just come and say, like, I meant to stay like a day or two and just help give out supplies, and then I just stayed. I mean, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Jenny, last year the charity Rain took 80% of their donations. 80% of their donations for salary increases and for top people. Nonprofits are huge money makers for the top people. Absolutely. They definitely are. And that right there is why I am disgusted when I look at stuff. Like now, I want to know. I want to know if you are a local organization that like these other two that I'm talking about. I know that you have taken up a special donation, or you're just bringing supplies. Like, they told people bring supplies, bring, toiletries, bring water, bring canned goods, this kind of stuff. We're loading up tractor trailers. If I'm buying it and I am watching them put it on the tractor trailer, then I feel relatively good about that it's probably going to where they're saying it's going. But yeah, it is so disgusting to me. And when you check out some of these big places that you donate to, you're gonna be horrified. Oh, thank you, Rebby Lee. Thank you. That is so nice. Stove and gas technician. Hey, I'm saving. I'm saving for that. I have got to get my stove and gas. I really do. That would be nice. I'm trying. I do appreciate that so much. Michelle says 501c corporations only have to give 5%. Really? I didn't know that. They only have to give 5% of what they take in to the actual charity. That is simply the way they work. All of them. Oh my God. And see, I had a nonprofit. It was like years ago, years and years and years ago. It's probably still in existence. I never filed for the 501c3. I could have because it was nonprofit. But it's more papers that you have to declare to get tax-free and 501c3 status. And I'm like, I don't have that much money that's coming in, and I know where it's going. Like, I don't, whatever. The taxes aren't killing me. So, but I didn't know that 5%. That is insanity. See, this is why I have trust issues. Okay. North Carolina is not Katrina. Different topography, definitely. Different people. Mountain people will not go an hour away. True, 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 true. Um, that is definitely, and especially the terrain. You can't even get through there. So many y'all look it up. See how many roads were washed away, like big gaps in the road where sinkholes, whatever that where the floods came through. It just collapsed pieces of roads. You can't get through there. So how are you gonna get out, go to work, come home? You kind of just have to stay there, and make going out a very scarce event. Michelle said, "I learned this by working for a charity for children. Huge ripoff. That makes me so angry. It really does. See, that's again. This is why I have trust issues. One of the many reasons I have trust issues. Um, yes, instead of just heaters, people need to be sending camp stoves. They can send the small camping propane cylinders. For those intense, cooking and heat are both paramount. Also, camping coffee pots. Yes, y'all, think about them people out there with no coffee. Like, that is horrible. That's one of the things, you know, I live in Alabama, which is Dixie Alley. We have our share of weather events. And so, I mean, that is the big thing for me as to why um, I have some alternates. Like, everybody's got the fire pit, you've got outside grills and stuff like that, because we know, the candles, the weather radios, all this, we know that at any given time, it used to just be in the spring, but now it's like any time of the year a tornado can roll through here. And so we're always, prepared. And that's one thing that I try to be prepared is, for times when I can't get to the store, there's no electricity. You need wood for the fire and all that kind of stuff. But people in North Carolina don't, in Western North Carolina, you don't think about hurricanes like devastating stuff. Like, this was completely out of nowhere. Donations, Carol says donations of campers are big now. Yeah. If you're a business that has any kind of heart and you need to get a tax write off, why don't you buy a camper for somebody? That would be awesome. Um, let's say ASMR Tingled Pink. I love ASMR. I support a nonprofit 501c3 that uses 100% of their donations for the organization. Luckily, there are some that is awesome. I don't know what they're donating to, but if you want to drop their name down here, that is awesome. 100%. That is cool. I'm not against people. You go to work, 5 days a week. Somebody has to run the thing. Have no objections to paying people to, coordinate this stuff. I do have big objections to them having ridiculous salaries. A living wage is fine. We know you can't get stuff there if you don't have people who can do that. Yes, Samantha, the camping coffee pots can be used for cooking and they help hold heat. I just can't imagine. Oil lamps, yeah, that will keep a tent warm. You're right. You're right. It Even candles. Have y'all ever noticed if you have like a big candle, it puts off more heat than you actually realize? Because I know in the summertime, like when we have spring and summer tornadoes, and then you're using candlelight at night, like your room heats. It's like, oh my god, it's ridiculous hot in here. It feels like an oven. Uh oh, Don, it's good to see you. It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna stay with us or go back. Furball Farm Cat Sanctuary. All right. That cares for hundreds of feral cats. That is awesome. We had a feral cat place here, and I think because of some health problems, they've had to shut down. But for years, they did so much. So y'all, if you are in the area where you know where Furball Farm Cat Sanctuary is, and you feel you want to make a donation, you need to do a tax write off, especially here at the end of the year. It's crazy. People just sending money everywhere. Not because they're good hearted, but because they want to have a tax write off. But hey, give to somewhere that matters. So, yeah, that's cool. Um, what? Okay, have y'all ever heard of this? Empty water bottles spray painted black and buried around a tent will help keep the tent warm too. How does that work, Samantha? I'm curious. Okay. I have got, let me just tell you, I don't know which one of my children decided they were going to recycle. And I'm all for recycling. We have a recycling center here. But they had collected all of these plastic water bottles because I buy tons of bottled water. Y'all, that's basically what I drink. And so they had them, I don't know, I had them in bags, boxes, whatever. Anyway, they burst. I've got bottles all over my back porch, plastic bottles, and it's been too cold for me to go out there and pick them up. I'm just like, well, I guess you can live there until spring or until the weather breaks because I'm not getting out there. I'm freezing now. Um, so, but look, I like to camp. I like to be warm. I don't understand how that works. If you can tell me about that, Samantha, that would be awesome. Okay, so the Furball uh, Cat Sanctuary, there are fundraising to open a no cost, low cost spay and neuter. Hey, that is awesome. That is awesome, y'all. Think more people would take in animals if the cost wasn't so exorbitant now. Let's see. And y'all hold on. We're going to talk Delphi. We're still on North Carolina. Silky, I'm in Crown Point working today. When I get in my truck, I'll put you on. Don't stop the live until I'm back on. I'm going to be going for a little while. Annalise said, I don't worry about burying the bottles, but water-filled containers will absorb heat during the day. Black color absorbs more heat. Okay. They'll also provide a bit of insulation. Well, that would be good for the sweltering summers we have around here, where Alabama is like you have a few weeks out of the year that it's just absolutely wonderful, and then the rest of the time it's like you either want to die from the heat or the cold. It's like you're either sweltering and just like kill me now, or you're freezing and you can't deal. Like there is no reason to live anymore. No, we have more than a few weeks, but it is extreme weather, and people. I don't think a lot of people realize that Alabama has very extreme weather. Thus, why we have the tornadoes, because you never know. It can be 80 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning and snow by 3 o'clock. You're like, what the heck? What the heck just happened here? Um, let's see. Let's party, Mario. Let's party. Uh, yeah, drive safely. Drive safely. All right. So, yeah, if you all are planning, if you have, let me just say this: if you are in any kind of group, Facebook group, you have a YouTube channel or something like that, look, bring it up. I feel like not enough people know about Western North Carolina, because those of us who know, we are the ones that keep going back and looking and searching out, okay, what's going on? What's going on? How are these people doing? But the rest of the country, because it's not mainstream news, they don't even realize. So, I mean, it's up to us because ain't nobody else going to tell them. It's up to us to let people know, hey, excuse me, people are dying over here. A lot have died. We don't even know where their bodies are. These people need help. The government is not doing anything for us, for them. Like it's horrendous, just horrendous. All right. Um, okay. Okay, let's see. You wouldn't bury the bottle completely, but you would leave some black exposed to collect the heat. And if the ground under you isn't freezing, it would be easier to get a tent to hold heat. Huh. Huh. Okay. So you would collect the heat from like the sun in the daytime. That is very interesting. Hmm. I have never heard that, y'all. That is so cool. Um, Thank you for sharing that. There should be a course in school for camping so that we're always prepared. Canned heat for tents. Hey, have y'all seen all that stuff? I'm about to test this out. Have you seen the whole emergency thing? If you haven't, it is like wow. Where you two things that and I have, but I can't find my clay pots. Like I don't know where they're at. So I'm just gonna buy some new ones because they're either in the garage. When it's too cold for me to look. Like I'm just gonna buy new clay pots. But you can put like even a small candle, like a votive candle or something like that. The way that you stack the pots and double stack the pots with the protection on the bottom, it's supposed to put out a lot of heat from one little tiny candle. And I've seen this proven over and over. Look it up on YouTube because you have people that have the thermometers out there and you can watch the temperature in the room rise. It's kind of survival, or if you just want to save on your electric bill, which, hey, both is important. But I wanted to try that, especially for my living room. My parlor gets really cold. Um, but I wanted to try that. And then there was another hack. Oh, you can make a very, very long burning candle if you just take, like, a wick. You need like a rope, little tiny, best if you can buy like candle wick. And you put it down in a big tub of Crisco, like just the standard oil, and you light it. And that thing burns, I think they said it burns something like 30 days. Like it, I mean, so many hours a day. Like I've got the Crisco. I'm ready. I'm prepared. Or you can put it in smaller. You can take that Crisco and put it in smaller containers, that will hold heat and burn it. I'm like, hey, you know what? That works for me. Because you never know. You never know when you're gonna need light. I mean, I've got the kerosene lanterns and I've got the oil, but what happens when that runs out and there's none in stock anywhere because everybody's looking for it? Then you have to get creative. Um, why do you think all solar panels are dark? Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hello, Mark. In all due respect, I love your accent. Thank you. I annoy a lot of people, so it's nice when somebody enjoys it. Um, Annalise said, y'all are letting me teaching me a lot of stuff this morning. There are super energy efficient homes that use water containers for interiors temperature control. Yeah, water absorbs heat. They used to do that if you study like back in the Colosseum, back in Rome, whatever. That's what the aqueducts were for because it was so hot, like they didn't have AC, and they're outside. They would put around the top. They would fill it with water. The aqueducts would actually cool, which is good to know. That's why a lot of times here, like if it's just too hot in the room, you just take and you empty out your ice bin in the freezer, like where your ice maker, dump it in a bowl and set it on the floor in front of your fan or somewhere in front of your fan. Um, and like let the air blow over the ice. It helps a lot. Okay, you got to be creative here in the South. All right. Oh, I forgot about that, Samantha. You're right. A metal coffee can with a roll of toilet paper in it and rubbing alcohol will heat a tent all night. Yeah, I forgot because I remember a few years ago I was watching this thing saying these are things that you should keep in your car in case you get stranded, in case of emergency, because you never know. Not together, but they said yes, the metal coffee can, and they said you can put the toilet paper roll in it, keep the alcohol separate, but you have this all in the back of your car so that you pour the whole bottle in there, you completely cover that, and you can light it and it will give you heat and light. Thank you. I need to remember that. You never know. Good morning, Ninja Warrior Assassin. Good to see ya. um okay, let's see. Anna Lisette says, I have experimented with the votive candle and clay pot system. It would work good in a small area. Lots of our living rooms are large with high ceilings. Yeah, that is my problem in this house is the high ceilings. I wonder, I've seen where you have like the regular clay pot and then there's like a double pot system. I don't know. Um, I would imagine it would work on a smaller room. But even if it just took like that terrible chill off of a room, um, it's a cheap alternative. Maybe it would keep you from dying. Maybe it'd be enough to sit beside. I don't know. And a pinch of cinder block on its side with candles in the holes will help heat a tent. Yeah, I think that's kind of the similar premise as the clay pots, except the clay pots are more conductive of heat because you don't have that open air. But yeah. Let's see. Eskimo people are said to heat the interiors of their dwellings, including igloos, with small oil lamps. Some say the inside is tropical and heavy clothes can be taken off. I have heard that, but I don't believe it. I mean, I guess I do, but you have to wonder, does the inside not melt of the igloo? I mean, I'm not an igloo expert, and I never want to live in Alaska. I want to visit Alaska in the summertime, but that's as far as I want to go. I can't do cold, but it seems like, is it that it's just enough heat that it melts the walls, like makes more ice? Like, does it freeze? But I don't know. How does that work? I'm curious. Um, Linda Kay says that works really well. A tea light candle under a terracotta flower pot. See, that's what I'm gonna have to just see. How does it do in my house? And look, if you have a big living room, even 3 clay pots and 3, tea light candles, whatever, they're cheap. They're cheap. That's cheap electricity. That's cheap heat. Oh, Ninja Warrior, thank you. Thank you so much. That is sweet. I appreciate it. I will put all this towards my stove fund. I got to get my oven fixed. Buy a new stove is what I have to do. There's no point in fixing the oven, even if it can be fixed, because it's just an old stove. Samantha, you're so funny. A cold butt is the mother of science. Yeah, for sure. And like a coffee, that will make you be creative. Oh, okay. The insides of an igloo are covered with skins. Well, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, and Samantha's saying it would refreeze the walls of the igloo. That's what I'm thinking. I hope we don't go into another ice age because I don't want to find out. I really don't. I don't, between hot and cold, Oh, God, that's a hard choice. I'd probably say hot, but I'm not sure about that either. I want, is it too much to want, like, not extremes in heat or cold? All right. Let's see. Let's talk a little Delphi. But yeah, think about that, y'all. Think about Western and keep Western North Carolina in your prayers. I'm telling you. I am telling you. Let me find I found this very interesting thing. And I'm going to break this down because there are some people. Let me go ahead and pull this up. There are some people who really they're new to Delphi or they're learning. They're learning. And we're going to talk about a lot of the things that some of you already are, and then if you're like me, you have studied Delphi so long, and then it's like somewhere in the back of your head, but it's not coming up. Somebody talked about TCD. If you don't know who that is, it's True Crime Design. She put out a video and they were like, "Did you see it?" No, I didn't, but I put it on this morning and I am not quite halfway through it yet because I was watching it and then my daughter came downstairs and she started talking, I don't know, conspiracy theory. I don't know. We were talking and so I haven't watched the last half of it, but she is talking about the connection between the Flora fire and Delphi. Now, let me tell you something. Now I have noticed, when you get trolled, when you get hit hard, when you get threatened, it used to be in certain things with Delphi. Now it seems like a lot of us creators are getting weird stuff happen when we start talking about Flora and how that could be related to Delphi. People get really, really mad. Well, when people get really, really mad, you have to ask, why? Why? What do you not want us to see? Mar R. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Good morning. Let's see. Crime time. No, you didn't. You didn't miss it. Crime time with B. We have been talking about. If you want to go back, we were talking about another case that I had never heard of. Terrible injustice. And then we were talking about the crimes against humanity of Western North Carolina and how the government is not doing anything. How people are not aware of what tragedy is going on over there. Now, we're going back to Delphi. So let me show you this. Okay. This is an article, and I'm going to pull up the whole thing. Let me make sure it comes up correctly for y'all. All right. If y'all do not recognize this guy, this is Elvis Fields. All right. This is Elvis Fields. Now, if you're not familiar with all of the Frank's motion and all of the many facets and tentacles in the Delphi case, Elvis Fields should have been a major player. All right. So let me just tell you, he is the one if you haven't heard, he is the one named in the Frank's motion of. And let me say this delicately because I don't mean for any of this to be said in a mean way. Elvis Fields is not, I don't know what diagnosis he has. I don't know if it's a learning disability or if it's just, he's what a lot of people back in the day used to just say simple. And that could be a lot of diagnosis. So I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But he is a little bit, and being that way, he is easily manipulated, as people are, because they don't always look at the bad or understand, they don't have a good concept sometimes of the whole implications of right and wrong, you know, and how people use them and manipulate them because they don't really understand. And I don't know if that was his. I do know that he has some kind of diagnosis, but I don't know how much. Like, is he evil or was he just caught up? I don't know. I don't know. Um, Samantha says, side note. Yeah, side note. Elvis Field still has no warrant for ignoring a subpoena into court. Yeah, you know what? I am thinking uh, everybody's going to ignore that. The same as they ignored people on the courthouse steps threatening, you know? He is mentally challenged. Yes, that's the best way to say it. And I'm not sure what diagnosed slow. Yeah. Um, yeah. Love his bandana. Wonder if he owned a green one. Yeah, that's funny that you should mention that. They did find a bandana, didn't they? With the clothes in the water that nobody seemed to. Was it Libby's? Was it Abby's? No. But yet, here it is. Nothing sus about that. Let's not, test the heck out of that. Um, let's see. Ninja. Let's see. Oh. Well, see, I didn't know that. Elvis may not have had a green one, but Patrick Westfall did have a green one. Huh. Yeah. Very interesting. Um, let's see. Let's see. Let me go back. Annalisette says, I think a number of locals knew a lot about the Delphi crime, maybe only after the girls were found. Small towns spread gossip. Absolutely. I live in a small town. Well, it's not that small anymore, but it used to be. Yeah, absolutely. Even as big as we are now, we still know stuff. We know people who know stuff. People talk. Um, the thing of it is I don't know. Again, so many people have said that they're still afraid. Now Richard Allen has been convicted, but people still can't speak the truth because a lot of people are not buying this bullcrap anymore. After seeing the trial, you're like, you got nothing. How did this guy how did he get convicted on this ridiculous evidence? Yes. Let's see. Yes, and you're right. You're right, Anna. I don't think that having a lower IQ should absolve you from any sort of crime, um, because they do hold jobs and drive vehicles and stuff. I just think that they are more easily manipulated. Um, let's see. Oh, is that true? Is the Vinlanders color the bandana? Is it? Y'all, I have never heard of an official color of the Vinlanders. Have y'all? Somebody put it. Jenny. Wow. Wow. I thought it was crazy that they weren't. Now, I know it was in the water and maybe you couldn't have found anything, but you would have thought the police would have been going crazy over finding a bandana with the clothes, right? Apparently not. So that tells me that they weren't interested for a reason. And maybe that is the reason because they already knew to what group of people that bandana belonged. Let's see. Mar says, it's wild to think these people will speak at his sentencing hearing. in my opinion, he's not guilty. Yeah, and it's been my opinion for a long time he's not guilty. I was waiting for somebody to prove to me he was during the trial, but they didn't. They only convinced me that it was a railroad job. Like, what the heck? What kind of tomfoolery is this that you have brought into court, sir? That makes no sense, especially when you put it against other evidence. That's why, like, I already had a feeling it was going to be a circus. It's more like it wasn't really the Delphi circus; it's the Delphi magic show. But it was really bad tricks because there were, you know, it's like. I mean, it's like when you're turning the glass of milk upside down, but then it just all comes out. It's like, that wasn't a trick. That was a disaster. As was your evidence, sir. Like, what the heck? I mean, it was insanity. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Green is also the color of money. Funny thing about so many money tentacles. Yeah. Anna says, my neighbor lady was unalived, left naked and displayed in the woods. Two local guys accused each other and had a shootout. One injured, neither guilty. Case still unsolved. Oh, I'd love to know. I'd love to know where that is, like the name of that case, like who was. That sounds very interesting. All right, but now I'm going to look at this because it's a rundown. If you need a quick uptake, all right, and I can't see your comments right now. Let me go back up here. Again, this is Elvis Fields. Overwhelming evidence against Elvis Fields ignored in Delphi case. Of course, and, Judge Lunatic is not going to let anybody have third-party defense, which is due process. Oh, let's just not just, oh my God, we go. It's not let's not just railroad this person. Let's just be so blatant about it that everybody in the United States can see how lopsided this is and how fundamentally wrong it is and how there is no due process. Let's just let everybody see it, okay? Yeah, we don't care. I mean, I can't. I mean, you have to, let me just say this. You have to know you've got some good backing to pull these stunts, or you are just so narcissistic you think that you can do anything. Now, I don't think, even though, I don't know if she's got those tendencies or not, but I feel like she probably knows who's going to cover her bottom. That's my opinion. I don't think a judge would do that unless she knew, I can do what I want. There's going to be no repercussions. I mean, she found out when she tossed the defense off last year. And the Supreme Court made her put him back on, but she doesn't seem to, like, she didn't learn anything. So she definitely thinks that there's going to be, she can do what she wants. All right. In the highly scrutinized Delphi murder case, a striking revelation of evidence pointing to the involvement of a man named Elvis Fields has emerged. Right, we know this from the Franks motion. But if you are new, Judge Frangol has barred Richard Allen's defense team from presenting a third-party defense. This decision leaves the public questioning, why is overwhelming evidence against Fields being ignored? I can't even talk. Ignored. Yeah. So here is it to save you from the 136 or 139 page Frank's motion, which, by the way, is very interesting. I'm not saying don't read it, but this is all in here. So here is Elvis Fields' part. He confessed to his sister Mary. Unified Command, aka LE, the people in charge, they were aware that Elvis Fields confessed to his sister that he was involved in the murders, even providing to his sister intimate crime scene details, of which only those present at the crime scene would have familiarity. Unlike Richard Allen, who in a psychosis said there was a white van, and there it may or may not have been, like we don't know. We really don't know, but there were other white vans out there, and like there's so much with that, and it was well known. It wasn't details only the perpetrator would know. No, because everybody knew about that white van and talked about it a long time. But, in 2023, they said, oh, this is a detail nobody has ever heard. But actually, Elvis Fields did have details of the crime scene. Additionally, he told his sister Mary on February 14th that he was present at the unalivings and that he now had a brother and was part of a gang. Did that gang wear green bandanas? Certainly is interesting. That reminds me, what color is his bandana? Is that blue? Yeah, that's blue. I got curious. All right. Admission of being on the bridge with 2 girls and 2 other guys. Look, Elvis told Joyce that he was on a trail and a bridge with 2 girls that were unalived and that he was going away for a long time. Okay, on that date, there were not 2 other girls that were unalived except for Libby and Abby. Hello? Anybody home? Ellie? I can't whistle. Hey, Ellie? Oh, y'all probably forgot about that, though. You probably forgot about him saying that because of those 70 days of interviews that just went poof. Oh, I'm getting upset now. I'm getting dramatic. When I get upset, I get dramatic. I'll try to tone it down a little bit. All right. But certainly this wasn't information that needed to come into court for the jury to look at, was it? No. Okay, the confession of spitting on one of the girls. After being dropped off at his trailer following the questioning, Elvis turned around, walked back to the police car, and according to the police report, well, they actually did report something this time. He asked the state trooper if his spit is found on one of the girls, but he could explain it away. Would he still be in trouble? Like, this man is telling you his DNA, he's afraid his DNA is at the crime. Did we see male DNA that wasn't identified? Why, mercy me, we sure did. We sure did. But that was never brought up. It was Richard Allen. Even though this guy said, my DNA's there. I mean, y'all, does this make any sense at all to a rational human being? No, it doesn't. That this never came up and he was never even a person of interest? Like, really? I can't see what y'all are saying, so I'm going to have to go back. Man, I'm getting heated. All right. So, he wondered if he would still be in trouble. Elvis also admitted to a different sister, Joyce, that he had, in fact, spit on one of the girls. So now he's told 2 different people about this. Statement about placing horns on the girls. Elvis mentioned that they placed horns or antlers on the girls as part of a ritual. Okay. I have heard people say that you can't really see on the on Abby. Like, you can see sticks. It doesn't really look like horns. I've heard some people that said, yes, it definitely does look like horns. On the one picture that I saw, one of Abby, I could see some sticks, but I wasn't really looking, like it wasn't a good angle, so I could not say. Um, but anyway, uh, were there sticks up there? Yes. Um, but I didn't see that much of them. But other crime scene photos would either confirm or refute, right? Some people said they absolutely were there. Now, if you say that even if they were little bitty twigs that like kind of wide off at the end, that would be pretty easy. Even if they were little and you put them in the grass behind or whatever, or they fell into the leaves behind, that would still, that confession right there, if you did indeed have sticks that were similar to horns, to me, that would be like, well, that is actually backs up what he's saying, all right? That, the spit. So he is saying that it was a ritual. Now, a lot of us think that there was a lot going on there as well as substances and all this kind of stuff, but could it have been a group effort or group reasoning? Yes, I think so. Was it just staged? I don't know. I don't know. But he says that it was part of a ritual. Well, Elvis seems to know more about this crime than anybody else, including law enforcement, who can't seem to find their way out of a paper sack that they will admit to. Now, do I think they're stupid? No, I do not. Well, there might be one or two. I'm not naming names, but I don't think law enforcement is stupid. I think they are just covering. The comment about Abby being a troublemaker. He referred to her as a troublemaker, so I'm guessing that maybe she was fighting back or something. I don't know what made him think that. But Elvis did tell his sister Mary again on February 14th that he was present, he had a brother, he was now part of a gang. Is that the gang of Odinists or Vinlanders or both? Because they were both. Maybe not every single member is both, but there was a lot of crossover. Indication of going away for a long time. Elvis told Joyce that he was going away for a long time. Well, yeah, I mean, he understood his DNA is on there. He was with them on the bridge with two other people. He knew they were unalived. And so he had to know it was wrong. He put the little sticks up there. He says he's going away. Oh, but that is not important to law enforcement. That's just wild ramblings. And, it's deleted anyway, so nobody has to really hear that. In February 2018, Elvis had been questioned by law enforcement but denied involvement in the murders. Yeah, because people are probably by that time, when he's telling everybody, because he doesn't realize he shouldn't, what happened, they're like, shh, do you understand? You don't talk about this. So, of course, by the next year, he understands, that was a bad idea. Talking about this. No, I didn't have anything to do with that. Okay, suspicious question to State Trooper Kevin Murphy. After being dropped off at his trailer following the question, Elvis turned around, walked back to the police car again, and asked if his spit would put him in trouble. The state trooper heard Elvis utter these words. Kevin Murphy was not part of Unified Command, but immediately relayed Elvis's disturbing question to Jay Harper of Unified Command. Who did what? I don't know. Scratched? Belched? Had another cup of coffee? I don't know. What'd you do? You didn't go and interrogate Elvis. That's what you didn't do. Were you busy? Was your favorite soap opera on? Like, what the heck? Jay. All right. Flawed alibi and conflicting stories. Elvis's alibi for February 13th, 2017 was also probably flawed. State troopers who weren't part of Unified Command determined that Elvis's roommate concocted a story concerning Elvis's whereabouts on February 13th. Now, this roommate is named Rod Abrams. Abrams told a story claiming on February 13th, 2017 that he, Rod, Elvis, and a man named Ned Smith were visiting a sick friend in Muncie. Aw, that's sweet. That's so sweet. Visit your sick friends. Unfortunately, for Rod Abrams, this story conflicted with the story that Elvis told law enforcement as to his whereabouts on that day. So Rod is trying to find you an alibi, but, Elvis, like I said, not really, all the dots don't always connect. Yeah, he refuted that. All right. So now was Elvis just, saying this and, or was his sister just like mad at Elvis? Oh yeah, I'm going to tell the police that he confessed. I'm sick of this. Whatever. No. Because furthermore, Unified Command knew that on February 1st, 2018, Elvis's sister passed a polygraph examination when asked if she were telling the truth about what Elvis had confessed to her. So she passes a poly. Actually, a lot of people, if you go back through this Frank's motion and you see all these other alternatives, a lot of people that had information passed a poly also. If it was just one person, oh my goodness. If it was just one person, I would say, maybe they're just good at lying. No, but there's more than one. Okay. Connections to Odinism and other suspects. Unified Command's failure to vigorously pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is even more perplexing when evidence known to law enforcement demonstrated a clear nexus. This is what Judge Gull said. Oh, you can't do this because there's not a nexus, blah, blah, blah. BS. There was a clear nexus between Brad Holder and at least 4 other suspects. Elvis Fields from Rushville, Patrick Westfall from Delphi, Johnny Messer from Rushville, and Rod Abrams from Rushville. Now, also remember part of the people, one of the officers, or maybe 2 of the officers that were like of Click Murphy and that whole Ferenczi, all of those groups of people. 1 or 2 of those officers was from Rushville. Okay, so they already knew. They already had a lot of knowledge about that area. Law enforcement knew that Johnny Messer was friends with Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. Law enforcement also knew that Messer was acquaintances with Elvis Fields and Rod Abrams. Well, so did these people who ended up disbanding. Once they brought all this up and Ferenczi is gunned down in the street, that all kind of died down. I think they got the message. You don't talk about this. You don't put this together with Fields and Westfall and Holder and all this, right? Okay, so social media interactions, and there's a lot. Unified Command not only knew that Elvis Fields and Rod Abrams and Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall shared a common acquaintance, Johnny Messer, but also that Elvis and Brad Holder followed each other on Facebook, that is true, and even mimicked each other's Facebook pages, with Elvis actually recreating the photos that Holder posted on his Facebook page. That's not sus. Unified Command was aware that Elvis Fields confessed to his sister that he was involved, even providing the intimate crime scene details, which only those who were there would have known. He also told his sister and two other individuals that he was on the bridge with the girls. Again, this is recapping. He mentioned those specific details. A possible motive or ritualistic elements. Elvis mentioned that they placed horns or antlers and that it was a ritual. This correlates with the crime scene description. Above Abby's head were smaller sticks, etc., placed over her hair, crudely mimicking horns. And maybe that's why I didn't see it, because it like, I didn't. Unified Command theoretically could claim, and actually appear to be claiming, that this connection is simply a bizarre coincidence. It's bizarre, but it's not as bizarre as Richard Allen? Really? Who's in psychosis? However, Unified Command not only knew that Elvis Fields and Rod Abrams, Holder and Westfall, shared this common acquaintance, but also that Elvis and... Oh, wait, we already got that. They created... Why are they saying this again? Okay, they followed each other on Facebook, recreated their stuff. Sorry. Like, this is just kind of redundant. The inconsistent alibi details, Unified Command knew about that too, right? They knew that Elvis's own account did not talk about going to Muncie. So these are all the things that they had to ignore. The nexus, that was a big one. I mean, obviously it's there. Judge Gold refused to acknowledge that, right? In my opinion, if the jury were trying to legitimately come up with something, a truth, this would have been a huge bombshell looking another direction. Obviously, more links, whether or not these parties are guilty of the crime, there's certainly a lot more evidence to put them at the crime scene than there was Richard Allen. Let's see. He did confess. And here's the thing. With Elvis Fields' confession, he was not in psychosis. All right? He wasn't. He was just saying. I was there. So let me see. I know y'all have seen a lot of posts of Brad Holder and some of the stuff that he's put on Facebook, the symbols, the paintings, oh my God, the making of runes, the making of runes, sawing the tree, the whole thing. All right, so of course this was all blocked. And Fields, I like this part. The case's focus remains on Allen, even as Fields walks free despite confessions, flawed alibis, and intimate crime scene knowledge. The public deserves an answer. Why has the investigation ignored Fields, and why won't the court allow, or why didn't now the court allow Allen's team to pursue the evidence? Because they don't want that out there. Okay? If they had wanted to, they could have solved this case a long time ago. Now, let me go way back, because I know I have been yapping for a while. What time is it? Oh, I'm going to have to wrap it up fairly soon because I've got to get ready for work. Let's see here. Hold on, let me get back down to where I left you. Very good question. Were Fields' details used by Walla to get RA's confessions? Well, I don't remember Elvis saying anything about a white van, but it does make you kind of wonder. Could she have led him that direction? I agree, Samantha. Not getting removed by the Supreme Court was Gold's green light to stomp on civil rights, Constitution, and just go full Adolf. Absolutely, absolutely. Hello, Cyber Warrior. I know I'm way behind in chat. Um, yes, I agree. Down the hill sounded like it didn't. I have a whole problem with that. Down the hill was too far away. And it probably didn't say down the hill. There's no telling what that audio actually said. Um, oh, hello, Kim Young. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's good to have you here this morning. Um, Kim Young, they used touch DNA in the Idaho 4. Why didn't they use touch DNA on the sticks or phenotyping in IgG? I know a lot of people have asked that. In 2017, I don't know if that was as advanced as it was in 2022. Maybe not. Technology does go really quickly. However, you would think that they would still have things in evidence, and some things maybe could have still been tested um, for that. I don't know how long touch DNA lasts. And I do have a big problem with touch DNA. I think it can be very helpful, and I think it can be also very misleading. But there's a lot of stuff that let's just talk about the regular stuff. They didn't even test it. They didn't test that hair. How do you not test a hair that's wrapped around a victim's finger, even if you think you know whose it was? Hello. But I think they. Uh, I would think also, Anna, that I would think that they would have tried. I'm thinking about the spit and the DNA. Sorry, I'm reading the comment and I'm thinking. I know y'all can't see inside my mind. Um, the alternative explanation, let me just put this up here, could be that they got DNA from Fields' cheek. Therefore, he thought police were looking for spit. It could be, and maybe they just the sample was it really not able to be. Is that true? That there just wasn't enough? They can't identify it? Or do they not want to identify it? I mean, this is Delphi. It could be either. The Delphi sticks were tossed aside for a while. Yes, that is another reason. Going back to saying, why didn't they test these things? Because they didn't even pick them up. They didn't even haul them in. That wasn't part of the crime saying, whatever, these sticks on top of people, on top of the victims. But, oh, you don't need DNA? Like, to me, this is mind-blowing. All right? I'm sitting here, I'm seeing a victim. I'm thinking, who put the stick there? Obviously, it said that some of the sticks had been sawn. Like, it wasn't broken, they were sawn off. So, hello, excuse me. Why are we not getting DNA? Like, why is that not important? As you're picking up crime scene, labeling crime scene, you have a branch that is touching a body. Well, are they that inept? I don't think they are. I don't think they are that inept. They could be. Maybe, hey, prove me, you can prove me wrong. You can show how inept you are. But I don't think you are. I think you didn't want the stick. So when they finally go back and they're like, oh, this might have been important, you think? Well, of course you're not going to get anything off them. They've been in the weather for days. Whatever. Yes, it was exactly, Mar. It was botched from the very start. Artist, hello. Good to see you. Wonder for baby daddy. You're funny. I wonder if they spit on their sick friend too. Right? Yes, artists. They've known who all of this DNA belongs to the whole time. They knew that was Kelsey's hair and Abby's hand. I'm sure they have other DNA that they have never disclosed and magically disappeared. Exactly. Just like it magically disappeared, just like the interviews, right? Poof. There you go. Yeah, so if you are catching up on Delphi, that is why Elvis Fields, Brad Holder, Patrick Westphal, Johnny Messer, did I get them all? That is why that was the nexus. There was a nexus. Okay? Those sticks, the confession from Elvis, which makes far more sense than the lunacy that Richard Allen was saying. Right. So there you are. That is just one aspect. Let me see if there's anything else that I need to speak on. I was looking at that this morning. I'm like, this is just, I mean, that's something I wanted to look into. Oh, that's North Carolina. All right. Let me pull this up for probably I'm going to end here because we've been going a long time. Probably going to end on this note. This is the last part. All right. This is on X. They treat this area, speaking of Delphi, like it is the Black Forest. The trees are not that dense. The area is not that large. Either all the searchers were visually impaired or blind, the girls' bodies weren't there, or these searchers were complicit. Either way, Free Ricky was in bed. Yes, because here is Judge Jessica, all right? This is a retweet saying, at 4:32 a.m., the reporter says she saw a group out searching with flashlights who didn't know the girls. 4:33 a.m. is when the rush of text messages came into the phone. Okay? And this is the original story. All right? So, yeah, that's the thing. The report says, there were people out searching with flashlights. Look, y'all, as the geofencing, there were 3, according to the Frank's motion that they motioned over and over and over. There were 3 people who had phones in the area of the crime scene. So either you were participating during that time, during the magic time, either you were participating or they weren't there. You can't have it both ways. Same thing as in the morning. If there were searchers out there, you either were participating because all of a sudden Libby's phone connects again. La! Either the searchers are involved or, the girls were there. So who were these people? Why didn't you see them? You're right. It's not the Black Forest. You can see. Or did somebody tell you didn't see what you thought you saw? Or did they keep you away from the area? Like what's up with that? All right, because we know that a lot of people were pushed back the night before of the search. Like, oh no, you can't. We've already searched there. Nothing to see here. Like I've said, if it was my child, I'd be like, get out the way. Get out the way. This is your one warning. Get out of my way. I'm going through. Yeah. So, let's see. Yes, Samantha. DNA. Yet none of Richard Allen is It's reasonable doubt. Exactly. I don't understand how it's not reasonable doubt. Okay, let's see. Dirt Road Realm. I manage a hotel in Kentucky. We have multiple people each week pass through that have been displaced. Oh, we were talking about North Carolina. So it's very sad the government isn't even counting bodies anymore, according to some guests. Well, from the people, thank you for that comment for so many people who are like just live out there reporting, who are living there or helping. They're like, they can't count the bodies either. They can't even find them. They need cadaver dogs, and they just know there's pieces. There's so many out there. They don't know. It's going to be literally months to years before they are able to recover even most of the bodies or remnants at that point. Um, let's see. Jane from the country. I like that name. Good morning, Jane from the country. Yeah, crime time would be nothing would stop me. Yeah, no, no. Especially, I remember saying this. Like, was it? I can't think of his name. I know it when I hear it. Was he the fire? What was he? The fire chief? Fire something? And he was telling people you can't cross the. He was telling like you can't cross over here. Can't cross the bridge. Can't go over to this area. First he said we've already searched this area, but you can't go over there. I'd be like, watch me. Watch me. If you think you can stop me, but you're going to watch me walk. Get out of my way, or you're going over next. Watch me cross this bridge. That's my child out there. There's nothing stopping me. It's not reasonable doubt when a jury has been told to agree with the prosecution. You have to wonder. There are a lot of things I want to put. Y'all had such good comments, and I wanted to have this all together, and then I didn't. Capitano, thank you. That is exactly right. Ninja Warrior. Michael Capitano. He is the one that told people, at least told some people, family, you can't cross here. Really? Really? You and who? What you and what army is going to stop me from crossing here? I'd like to know. I would search all night and wouldn't have slept a wink. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How could you? How could you not? I don't care how cold it is. I don't care if it's my child. If it is my child, there is no stopping. There is no police telling me we're calling it off for the night. Like, whatever, whatever, goob. I'm going. Uh, Lisa, hello, hello. Okay, Jane, you came from the Prof's channel. Cool. I haven't talked to the Prof in a few days. I need to see how he's doing. All right, so I think there's so much about Delphi. Again, we can rehash a lot. I'm trying to just kind of catch up, and I know a lot of creators are. We're trying to catch you up on if you're new to this case and you don't understand. And honestly, for those of us who have studied this case, we are in the most disbelief that Richard Allen was found guilty when we know all this other stuff. I mean, people who are just listening are coming in, listening to the evidence and saying this man's not guilty, don't even know all these other things. So we're trying to catch people up. Again, yeah, you're naming some good names, Linda K. A lot of people think Palladino had a lot to do with that. Look, there's so many good suspects. Like, honestly, there's so many good possibilities, and that's horrible. Like, normally you would say in a small town, the girls didn't have any enemies. That like the list of suspects should be minute of people who could actually do this. Oh, but no, not in Carroll County. You have a plethora of people who could be guilty for any number of reasons. It's like, what the heck? Y'all be careful out there. But aside from that, we know it's going to be a long fight. Although I have to find it. Somebody posted something on X the other day that made me really think. Ooh, could with the right pressure on the judicial system, could some things change just by people saying, hey, this is not fair, this is not true, this is not right. Um, I don't know what to do at this point but to scream loudly, look at this. And I think one of the things, again, like if you weren't here in the beginning of this broadcast, we talked about the flora fire, which most people, even Delphi, even some longtime Delphi people, don't know about flora. The rodents, the trolls, the troll farm, and the rodents that surround this case. When you start talking about flora, it used to not be so bad. They used to like it when you talked about flora because there was like a we don't know. There was like a no connection. We don't know what happened. This is a horrible tragedy. They didn't like it when you started going to certain things on Delphi. But now, since the Richard Allen trial, now when you start talking about Delphi and flora and how they could be related and how some of these same players, I mean, look, if you don't know, you'll see some familiar names. Westfall, Holder, all these other people, they're coming up a few months earlier in flora. People get really, really mad when you say that. And we get way more threats and nasty messages. Why is that? Is it because it's true? That's my thought. You don't care so much so long as I am just saying, hey, Richard Allen's innocent. Let's fight the judicial system. Let's, get on the side of an appeal. You get a little bit of pushback, but not much. You start talking about flora and people get really, really mad. What does that tell you? Tells me that there's more going on in Carroll County. So, save your words, you people who want to threaten me, cause trouble. Just save it. Save it. You're just showing your hand. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. All right. Cyber Warrior says, I've gotten death threats. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. I've had some incidences. I kept it on members only, but it is ridiculous. And we'll talk about some fires. Silky, did you know that if a burned property is connected to the manufacturing of numbers, it costs $45,000 to clean up that property? Yeah, it costs, if you can even clean it up, it's really, really expensive. Because the chemicals get into the parts of the they really, because we have that problem around here. When somebody rents out a property and then they have to kick somebody out and they realize that they were doing that in their house or property, it's toxic. It makes the house toxic. So the cleanup, if they can even do it, is so expensive. And some people recommend, just don't try. It's ridiculous. I would think that a property owner concerned with collecting insurance money would also not want to pay $45,000 for cleanup. Yes, if indeed, if there was that aspect, I agree. The best thing would be for that property to go up in flames, wouldn't it? That's a lot of implication for that. I don't. I know it's there. Okay, I know it's there, Samantha. No doubt it's there. I don't want to cause more pain. All right, I know that that element is there. Yeah, and definitely there is a lot of, I don't know. I try to walk softly when it comes to certain things because there is so much pain involved that you don't want to assume that somebody's maybe bad decision led to all of this. Does that make sense? I know if you know what I'm talking about, you know, and if you don't, it's okay. Let's see. Artist says, "Did you all hear that Libby's neighbor Evan Wood was missing since Sunday?" I did hear I did hear that, but I did not know that was Libby's neighbor. I was no, wait a second. No, I didn't. I'm thinking about there was a body found in Tippecanoe County, right, in the river? But it seems like I did see that too cuz I remember that name and I was like, I wonder who this was. Like did Abby or Libby know him? So it was a neighbor. Ooh. Wow. Uh, yeah, somebody email me and let me know if there's anything going on in there. Let me see. Let me check something real quick. Because sometimes when I'm talking about certain things, no, not so much. Sometimes when I'm talking about certain things, I get little nasty messages while I'm live online. Saying don't talk about that. Blah, blah, blah. You need to be quiet. It's funny. But I do. Yes, Jane, eyes videos can be confusing. They're really good, but yeah, I end up having to watch them. Some of them. Some of them I get right away. Some of them I'm like, I have to watch this 5 or 6 times. The truth lies with Flora. I've always had a sneaking suspicion that Delphi was a distraction to keep attention away from Flora. Could be. It definitely. I don't think people really wanted to connect them, but yeah. I think the more I think about it, and I think the players involved, I'm like, what are the chances that there isn't some overflow from one to another, even if the motive was a little bit different? What are the chances? You have these same goobers connected to Delphi, and then you find out they're also living down the street in Flora, and there's some interaction. Well, like really, really. We'll go into that. We will go into that another day, which I have gone into a bunch of times, but there's a whole lot of people now who are not seeing this, have never seen this, don't know about Flora. If you want to know the story of Flora, can look back on some videos I did. I don't know. They're not lives. They are videos. I did 2 on Flora. It will make you furious. It will make you furious. All right. There are many stories of a footpath worn into the snow from visits to a certain basement, totally not connected to Galen nor her household. Interesting. 4 Bits. Hey, how are you doing? I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. That everybody got stuffed. Everybody had a good one. All right. I'm going to cut it off for today. I've got to get ready for work. We're going to talk about more about stuff. If you have something that you want to talk about, a case, if you have some really good info on Western North Carolina or any other thing that you think we need to talk about, email me at silkyandsouthern at gmail. And we're going to continue to talk about not just Delphi, okay? We're always going to keep it up there. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to talk about, and we will. Let me see. Is there anything else I need to tell you? I will not be here tomorrow probably because I have an appointment at 9. And the chances that I'm going to get back out of that appointment anytime quickly is probably none. But I will definitely be back. What's tomorrow? What's today? Today's Tuesday. If I'm not here Wednesday, I'll definitely be back Thursday. So, y'all, email me. Tell me what you want to talk about. Tell me what is getting your goat. All right. I appreciate you all so much. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. Whatever you do, stay silky.